So many cars, yet so few plugs. Welcome to the Urban EV podcast, where we speak to industry leaders and EV owners with boots on the ground to read the tea leaves on the direction of the green energy revolution. I'm your host, Rob Hoffman.
And I'm Scott Murphy.
Today, we're joined by Davide Giacobbe, co-founder of Voltest, a company that's pioneering the process of purchasing a used EV. Davide brings a deep background in automotive engineering, having worked as an engineer at Yamaha Motorcycles and R&D engineering team leader at Lamborghini. Now, how cool is that? Now he's leveraging that expertise to solve one of the biggest challenges in the EV market, battery health transparency. We'll dive into his journey from Lamborghini to launching Voltest and why his work is truly critical for the future of electric mobility. Davide, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today.
So your automotive education started probably as soon as you could walk, let alone read. You mentioned something in your bio about learning to read from the car magazines your dad had lying around at the age of 3. Talk to us about your journey from those early days to landing at Lamborghini and obviously Voltest today as well.
Yeah, I started reading my dad's car magazine when I was around 3. Quattro ruote as a reference for like Italian listeners, and my passion for cars was born ever since. So that's what brought me to then start studying mechanical engineering and graduating back in Italy to work in the car industry. So my career started actually in the motorcycle industry, Yamaha motor, and I spent 4 years then. There I was a motorcycle designer, basically vehicle designer. And then that brought me to basically fulfilling my dream, working in the car industry for a sport car maker like Lamborghini. That happened in 2015, and I spent 7 years there.
That's quite a pedigree. So what did you do specifically at your time at Lamborghini?
Yeah, so I was what is called engineering team leader. So that was my role. Basically, it's a role in which you try to turn into reality what car designers are imagining and thinking about. Over the 7 years I spent there, I was mostly involved on the V12 model line, like Aventador, as you can see here in the back. So Aventador SV, Aventador SVJ, and then the hybrids one. So the most recent projects like the Lamborghini Temerario and Revuelto.
All right. So the irony here, focusing a lot of your work on the V12 engine, the antithesis of an EV, but you did start getting into hybrids. So was that what facilitated your transition from the internal combustion engine into EVs?
Yeah, partly started there with hybrids, but started earlier than that, actually, on my personal side. So from the point in which Tesla came out and also on the market, EVs on the market came out, I started studying electric vehicles on my personal side. I had obviously my knowledge based on my studies in mechanical engineering. And so I graduated in a moment in which we were already talking about electric vehicles. So when we started the projects, the hybrid projects at Lamborghini, that contributed to tapping into the electrification space and knowing more about EVs. And that brought also to understand the biggest challenges that automotive started to be exposed to with electrification.
Very cool. Let's take a minute and talk about Voltest. So what motivated you to create Voltest? Where did you see the need coming up for better EV diagnostics?
So one of the reasons was that I started thinking about the future of EVs in terms of the future of the used EV market. And not having data about used EVs, I always consider that as a challenge for future customers of used EVs, right? And considering that on top of that, basically the battery is the most valuable asset of an electric vehicle in terms of capex, basically. Yeah, that's why I considered battery health, I started to consider battery health as a key topic, and that was the glimpse that brought Voltest to life.
And what would you say is the core problem that you guys are solving? I imagine you can go to a dealership and get your battery tested, but where does Voltest play into that?
So the main problem we are solving is that, yes, you can get battery health data, from a dealership or from the official network of car makers. But the point is that to get the same data we are providing, you need to take at least anything between 16 to 24 hours.
Hmm.
and you need to put the car like in charging. So this is the typical test that requires getting data about state of health. And with Voltest, we provide that in really a couple of minutes.
Very cool. So how do you get around the issue of needing the vehicle to be charged in order to get that kind of data?
What we have done is we pull the data that are stored in the battery management system. We use those data to calculate state of health, basically the actual energy that the battery can hold compared to new. And we also, this is very important, and we always highlight that part, we also validate the data we pull from the BMS with our model. That basically is a kind of navigation system model. We do real world driving assessment on the data we pull from the BMS, and we verify if the value that we have pulled from the data are accurate or not.
So Davide, tell us a little bit more about kind of your data validation methodology.
So basically what we do is we do data extraction from the BMS. We retrieve voltage level and other data that are stored in the BMS, but like differently than other companies that are like stopping their process there and providing just BMS data. Basically, we do cross verification with real world driving data, meaning that we test every supported EV model running real world driving assessment. So every model that we add in our list of supported models is driven, and we compared what is expected energy consumption versus actual energy consumption. And then we determine if the BMS reported data aligns with the real world performance. And if there is a mismatch, we adjust the data accordingly to reflect the true state of health. So this is the real world validation we are doing. And this is particularly important to highlight the difference compared to other solutions on the market.
And just because I know Rob is going to get panned by all of his listeners about acronyms, just for the uninitiated, what is the BMS?
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, so the BMS is the battery management system. So basically we can say an ECU that controls the battery pack, and in which basically the software to control the battery pack is written.
Wonderful. And my friends will thank you for that, Scott, for the reminder.
Yeah, but he snuck in another acronym, which I'm not going to make him explain, which is an ECU, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
People know that one, right?
Like electronic control unit, but yeah,
that's the from the old ICE, internal combustion engines. Yeah, the old
exactly.
ECU. When things got computerized.
So Davide, what does Voltest look like? Where does it go? Where do you plug it in? Give us the details on the hardware.
Yeah. So Voltest is a pocket-sized device, and it's basically it's an OBD2 device. You connect to the OBD2 port for cars that are communicating battery data through the OBD2 port. Tesla is not a case. So Teslas require adapter cables that we provide in our B2B kit to dealerships and repair shops. So the B2B kit will include this pocket-sized device, the OBD2 device, and a set of cables that are needed to connect with all the Teslas on the market that we support.
Why don't we talk about the real world now, about how this is really playing out at used car dealerships and how the consumer or how the dealers are actually using your product. Now, I know you just recently posted, along with your co-founder, that you tested 200 Teslas in a month. Talk to us more about that experience and what that kind of unveiled.
Yeah, so there are different ways our customers are using Voltest. First of all, they have like a better experience with appraisals because in a couple of minutes, they can know everything about battery health. We provide not only state of health data, so the actual value of energy that the battery can hold compared to new, but also we provide voltage readings for every single cell groups inside the battery pack. And on top of that, also fast charging versus slow charging distribution that the car has experienced over time. Everything this comes with a single test in a couple of minutes. Second point is our customers, like especially dealerships, but also service shops, through their service department, they are providing battery state of health reports to their customers, reselling for, like we can say, an upcharge to their customers at the service department. And on top of that, also they are using these reports when they want to improve buyer confidence at the point of sale with their customers. So we already experienced situations in which our customers told us that some customer came in, they wanted to know more about, for example, 2016 Tesla Model S with X thousand miles, and they were skeptical about buying these like used EVs with no data. They provided the Voltest report, and this customer ended up buying the car.
What percentage would you say of used EVs have poor battery health?
I would say like a very limited percentage. So I would say, as we published in our latest post about the 200 Tesla we tested, 1% of all the cars we tested ended up having, like, we can say, poor battery health. That is, maybe they have like one single cell, faulty cell, or they have like a kind of wavy graphs in terms of like balancing of the whole battery pack. And so this means that the percentage of bad battery packs is limited, but usually what we say is that the severity of the damage is very high. The frequency of the damage is very low.
I know there's a lot of guidance out there about fast charging, charging up to 100%. Does that really cause damage to the battery? Are you noticing that there's a decline in the state of battery health for people who are fast charging to 100 on a regular basis?
Yeah, in general, there are these like general indications to not use fast charging for like long time or very often. This is true, but in general, but what we have seen with our reports is that it's not affecting so much. There is no direct effect the battery health. So we have seen a lot of reports with high percentage of high distribution of fast charges, but the battery health was perfect. So yeah, it's not like a one-to-one direct effect. And what we were discussing before, so about the faulty cells, so fast charging is not creating faulty cells at all. So when you encounter like battery packs with faulty cells, that it doesn't come from like high usage of fast charging, right? So that's fine.
More likely on the manufacturing side than if you're going to have an issue like that.
Yeah.
And does battery chemistry play any part in this? You know, are there certain batteries that are better than others?
Yeah, the vast majority, I would say 99% of the cars that we have tested so far are NMC chemistries. So we don't have like so much data so far to compare, for example, LFP versus NMC. Yeah, I can't give you like a clear answer on this, but there's definitely a different behavior between the chemistries or among different chemistries.
So where do you see the used EV market heading? Do you see this, obviously people are slowly starting to replace their ICE vehicles with EVs. Where do you see the market heading?
The EV market, the new EV market has grown really fast over the last 2 years, especially with lease vehicles. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming in the used EV market. And right now, if you're considering the current moment, used EVs are really bargains and really great opportunities for the ones that want to consider these cars. I always say that I bought my Tesla Model S for less than 15K. So yeah, if you want to look around, there are great opportunities, and it's going to bring great opportunity to dealers as well.
You know, on this note right now, and you said you purchased a Model S, a used Model S, and I'm very well aware, I think everyone out there is aware that there's a massive depreciation hit, at least currently right now on EVs that are just a few years old. Now, that's obviously not good if you bought that, Mercedes-Benz, but it's wonderful if you're shopping for one that's just a few years old. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, the deals that are out there right now. Is there a sort of mileage cap where you would advise, hey, this is kind of like where you kind of should scratch this car off your list? What's the sweet spot for, low mileage, mid mileage, even high mileage EVs? And would you personally consider purchasing any one in those three buckets?
I would say that you're not going to have any like big issue purchasing EVs with anything between 60 up to 80,000 miles. Also, we have seen like very good cars with those mileage, even with 100,000 miles. But it's more a matter of what kind of range are you expecting to get, and what kind of range are you accepting to have. So basically, a car with 100,000 miles could come with 80% to state of health. Yeah, that means roughly that you're gonna have like a car that is degraded like 20% in terms of range as well. So it all depends on what you want, but we haven't seen a lot of cars with 100,000 miles with 80% state of health, but the battery pack is very well balanced, so no big issues.
Yeah. So other than the state of health and getting that 20% haircut, you're saying generally speaking, you're seeing quality in those battery packs that they should be lasting probably longer than the car itself.
Absolutely. Batteries in general are lasting longer than what we were all expecting. And I can confirm this type of direction with the data we are getting from our reports.
You know, the irony is when we both grew up, I would say American cars and maybe Italian cars as well did not exactly have the best reputation for reliability. Yeah. And I felt when I was growing up, you threw out of the car at 100,000 miles.
Exactly.
The odometer didn't even have that sixth digit when I was a kid, you know, because like, why would you need that? The car's going to be dead.
One of the cars I had back in Italy started like everything started breaking down well before 200,000 kilometers. So it's a matter of, and was a gas car. So,
well, quite a bit more moving parts in those guys for sure. So things tend to wear out a bit more. A bit earlier.
Yeah. And once again, Italian and American, this is where we share something in common here. And at least the former reputation, I believe things have turned around a lot, I hope in the last 20 years or so.
Rob, I don't know if you know this, but my first car was an Alfa Romeo.
I did not know that.
My first car was an Alfa Romeo Alfetta with Spica fuel injection.
That's and it only cool.
It ran once. I literally bought it from the guy for $500, which should have been a sign. I drove it home and then I couldn't get it started again.
That was
so I sold it to another guy for $1,000. So I made $500 on it.
All right. That's what I call a win-win. I think it's one of those things, a lot of those old Italian sports cars, like you need to know how to turn a wrench, right? I mean, I think it's almost like mandatory for a vehicle like that, but they're just so sexy. They're so cool. There's something about, that's the reason why Davide, when, Lamborghini, my God, the Countach, that was on a poster of my bedroom when I was a kid. That was the sexiest, coolest car of all time. Have you ever actually driven one?
Not a Countach. I have driven
pretty much every other model.
The Aventador or the Huracan, yes, but not the Countach, unfortunately. Maybe for the future.
Well, what is your dream car, just out of curiosity?
So, dream car are always Lamborghini, obviously. I am biased, obviously, but the Aventador plays a role in my life. So, that is my dream car, I would say.
Does Lamborghini have a pure EV in the works? I know Ferrari does.
In the works, they have. Yeah, they announced a prototype last year or a couple of years ago called Lanzador. And that is going to be the full electric one. Ferrari does have it and it's going to come, later this year or next year.
All right. So what are your thoughts on the future of, EV ownership and how Voltest will play a role in that?
So as in terms of Voltest, we want to give like the possibility to everyone that is considering UEVP to have more and more transparency about the data. We already introduced also the EPA range estimation because together with state of health, we think that even if it's still like EPA based and not on real world driving, it's good to give like this type of indication to customers. And in general, what we want to do is continue our work on awareness and education to basically our customers that are dealers, repair shops. So also on the repair shop side, we want to give like a very easy tool to them to start providing services to EV owners and for the EV market. So these are the next steps. We are working also on creating more partnership with warranty, very extended warranty providers that are already leveraging our data right now. And we want to have something also in order to test end-of-life electric vehicle batteries. That is something that is connected also to our, basically the beginning of our company and to some requests that we got from people that are willing to repurpose batteries or to remanufacture batteries. There is also that area of the market made by auto recyclers that is very interesting to understand. So we are working on that side as well.
Yeah, I know that's a really big industry, a nascent industry that's going to explode because all these EVs right now we're what like 10% of cars on the road are EVs, and when that reaches 40, 50% and more, all of these batteries are going to need to be recycled, and we're going to have to figure out what state of their health is, and I think
Exactly.
Voltest sounds like you're in a perfect position to basically capture that market. That's really good stuff. So we're coming up on time right now, but why don't you let the listeners at home know where they can find Voltest online, anyone that's interested in hearing more about it, or to follow you online as well.
So to follow me online, the easiest way is on LinkedIn. I use that a lot as like basically as to talk with my audience and to post everything about my knowledge. If you want to know more about Voltest, you go to getvoltest.com. This is our website. You can find so basically the full list of the supported vehicles. We support around 90% of the current used EV market, and that's it. So these are the channels.
Davide, it's been great having you on the show, and Voltest is clearly filling a crucial gap in the used EV market. I really do believe that you're going to be the next Carfax. I feel it's a kind of like a mandatory test that you're going to need to take before you purchase a used vehicle. Thanks for sharing your insights with us. And as always, for the listeners at home, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more conversations shaping the future of EVs today. The road to sustainability starts at the plug, and that's why we're here. We will see you all next week on a new episode of the Urban EV Podcast.